Hello and welcome to the Game Design Archive with Edward and Ludwig.
Hello.
Hello. What are we going to talk about today, Ludwig?
Well, today we're going to talk about a phenomenon in game design that I've noticed. But before that, we're gonna do the very algorithm killing move and talk about food for a moment. Because I think there is a very good comparison to make to food. And we those of you who watch the podcast, have watched the podcast before, you know that we love making comparisons to food and music and stuff. So without further ado, okay. Let's say you have a cheesecake. Now, if you were a cheesecake baker, and to be clear, I mean like a classic, dessert cheesecake with like cream cheese and a bunch of sugar and stuff. Now, if you were a baker who was really, really interested in cheesecakes or baking in general for whatever reason, and you wanted to make a cheesecake, what would you do? I think a lot of people would, either they would try to, what do you want to call it? Like, improve on the like recipe. There's not a single recipe for cheesecake, but you get what I'm saying. Yeah, maybe more sugar or something. Or like, oh yeah, like I've had cheesecake that had like, I think it was like mango glaze on top. That was pretty tasty, right? So someone was like, okay, what if we have a mango glaze on top of the cheesecake? That's pretty tasty, right? Let's do that. Or something like that. They either add something that complements the cheesecake, or they like make an improvement to the base recipe. Or maybe they have a different, base filling thing or whatever. What I don't think a lot of bakers would do is try to put ketchup on the cheesecake.
Well, there probably is one.
There might be some. I'm not saying that's impossible. But my point with this is that when people cook or bake or whatever, or with baking and cooking in general, there seems to be an understanding of this concept where it's like, cheesecake and ketchup doesn't really work together, if that makes sense. And sure, you could like bend the definition of ketchup or bend the definition of cheesecake and then have something that actually works. But if you're actually trying to combine ketchup and cheesecake, you're probably not going to have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I bring this up is because this is a phenomenon that at least I have observed, and I'm sure you have observed as well, Edward, and a lot of our viewers also. This seems to be something that game designers are obsessed with doing. Would you agree?
Yes, I think so.
Okay, good. Because there is actually a famous talk, a GDC talk, we love those, about sort of this topic. It's called, what's it called? It's called Cursed Problems in Game Design. And it's made by like a Riot designer guy who talks about what he considers cursed problems in game designs and how to solve them. And so the way he defines a cursed problem is essentially where you have two sort of contradicting, I think he calls them like player, does he call them player fantasy? I don't know, something like that. Mm-hmm. Basically, the player wants to do one thing, but they also want to do another thing that contradicts each other, and then you end up having a problem. You have a cursed problem that can't be solved. And one example that he uses is free-for-all and competitive skill-based multiplayer gaming. So if you have, I think the example he uses is a fighting game. So like if you have a fighting game, those are very skill-based, very competitive, they're 1v1 and so on and so on. And if you all of a sudden try to make that free-for-all, so you have several players at once, you end up losing, like the skill-based stuff ends up mattering less, and the like free-for-all politics starts mattering more. So you'll have the bad players gang up on the good player and so on and so on. And I do agree with this. I do agree that there is this like, what do you want to call it? Phenomenon of like cursed design problems that can't really be solved. And I do agree that the free-for-all competitive thing is one of those problems. The thing that I disagree with is the philosophy that these problems should be solved, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, but...
or rather, sorry, I should clarify that there is value in trying to solve this problem. I don't agree with that, if that makes sense. What were you gonna say?
Right, because like obviously there is a reason to solve this. It's that you can say you made the game that's free for all and competitive at the same time,
Yeah.
which is like valuable in the sense of like marketing and stuff, right?
Yeah.
So if your goal is to make something marketable, then yeah, that's probably a good puzzle to solve, so to speak, or whatever, right? But
yeah,
I guess it's not that interesting if you want the good game, right?
Yeah, well, I think it's not only marketing, right? Because like I guess that depends on how you define marketing, but I feel like it's more like if we go back, that's why I think the like cheesecake example is so good. The cheesecake and ketchup example is so good, because the thing that they are trying to do, like, it feels like a lot of designers get a kick out of trying to solve cheesecake and ketchup, basically.
Well, I
right?
guess my problem with the analogy, which is not like I get what you're saying, but is that you would do this. You would end up in the same situation in the food world. I see this all the time. I guess that's my issue, right? Because there will be someone trying to make a cheesecake with ketchup. And the reason is, again, marketing, right? It's, look, you can come here and eat this exquisite cheesecake with ketchup. Isn't that interesting? And then people go there because they're making this weird thing that no one else is making, right?
That is true, but I also believe that in cooking there is like space for not that as well, which I don't think is true for like mainstream game design.
Oh yeah, so you're saying that game designers are less understanding of actual good food or whatever.
Yeah, or good games.
Yeah, because like there is tons of restaurants where they serve like good, disgusting food because it's fancy, right? That's why, like, and I don't mean like, oh, it's like fancy. I mean like they're mixing dumb stuff that doesn't taste good together to make a quirky restaurant, right? Yeah, there's tons of them in Stockholm, right?
Yeah, yeah, but at the same time, but at the same time, there's also like generic fancy Italian restaurant, right? That only has generic fancy food, like Italian food, and that's sort of my point. In gaming or like in game design or game design discussion, there isn't really a space for that. It seems like everyone is so focused on doing these like weird and crazy things and being creative, quote unquote.
Well, in mainstream gaming, I guess, at least. Like, obviously, there are designers that are doing good games.
Yeah, but like even if you look at like popular indie games, this is also quite a big problem.
Well, popular indie games are mainstream stuff.
That's true.
I'm thinking more like, you know, like the people we usually bring up, like Jonathan Blow and Boghog and Terry Kavanagh, etc. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
Those people, like, they're obviously not trying to put ketchup on the cheesecake.
No, they're trying to make a good cheesecake.
Yeah.
And I guess my point is that we need more designers that do this. And I think how should I put this? I mean, this is something we've talked about before, where it seems like a lot of designers are very interested in novelty, right? Like, as we always bring up, you know, the humble genre blend, like Pragmata. It's a puzzle game combined with an action game, and it ends up being kind of bad because there's like no there's no point in the combination. The point of the combination is the combination, not anything else.
Yeah, but the problem is that it does work if your goal is marketing. Maybe you don't like the term marketing, but like for me, it's like what is the goal of the game? Is the goal of the game to make as much money as possible? Then the genre blend does sort of work because obviously people are buying Pragmata because it seems new or whatever, right? With the puzzle thing.
Yeah.
Although to be honest, now that I think about it, maybe it doesn't actually matter because people are more, not to be mean to people, more shallow than that. And it's like just that the graphics are good and, you know, who the publisher is might be enough, right?
Yeah, but I think Pragmata has gotten like a bit of praise. Because it's like cleverly designed or whatever, right? Which isn't true. They've literally just slapped 2 games together without any like second thought, and then not solved any problems that arose from that, and then called it a day, right?
Yeah. I think it goes back to something we have like talked about, not in the podcast but offline, about like art in general, that and read about as well, I guess. That if you like, it's sort of novelty, right? But if your goal with art is to stick out, then you actually fail to make something interesting, right?
Yeah.
Because the goal of art should not be to stick out, really, right? It's about conveying some sort of message or whatever, right?
Yeah.
That I don't like that definition because it is actually what it is, I think. But you can interpret that as like, oh, it should be like some I don't know, like some political message or something. Like that's not what like. It doesn't need to have a story where you talk about how something is, you know, or has to be. It's more like it's conveying, like Jonathan Blow's games are a perfect example of this. Like he talks about this all the time, where like he's like exploring this space of these in The Witness, for example, like these lines and like, oh, what can happen if you do this and this, and it's like in a very pretentious way to describe it, I would say, is basically it's teaching you something about the universe, right? It's not necessarily like you can argue the usefulness of it if you want to, right? But it is like opening your widening your perspective already in some some sense, right? Like you're gaining some sort of experience from it.
Yeah, like there's not necessarily a clear moral of the story that is hidden between the like in the text that you need to find.
But the thing is, that's more true with books as well. That's like what bothers me about people talking about books, because there is so much nuance in books as well. And I know, you know, like in our case, Swedish teachers, right? They love to be like, oh, so what was the moral of the like? You can't do that to a book. That's not fair, right? There is so much like the reason this person didn't write like a, you know, what do you call it, like an essay or whatever about this topic and wrote a book instead is because like there's so much nuance to the topic in the like author's mind, right? So they need to write it in the form of a story. I mean, there's obviously different in this case if it is a story, right? If it's a novel, so because that will like present some of the issues in ways that maybe you haven't, you know, if it's issues, whatever, you get my point, right? It depends on what the topic is, but like it can change your perspective, right, in ways that just telling someone doesn't.
I although to be fair, I like to be fair to the English teachers or whatever, there are probably a lot of books where there is a clear moral of the story, right? But
they are
the good
same.
ones.
They are the same as your food example, because they're trying to make the entire point some sort of moral, right?
Yeah.
And so they're just trying to stick out again.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree.
And that's not to say that there aren't interesting morals you could argue that good books have, right? Or whatever. And games or whatever, right? Morals also sound kind of, it's not the right word. I mean, that's the word that teachers use, right? But it's not really like that. It can be more nuanced like that. Like you can let's say you read a story about, I don't know, about something that like applies to everyone in life, and it like teaches you a lesson about how to view something in life for the rest of your life. I mean, this sounds super pretentious, but you get what I'm saying. Like it could be some tiny thing, like make you appreciate something that you haven't thought about before more, or something. I don't know. You get what I'm saying, right? Not like in a concrete way, more in a subtle, like nuanced way, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Whatever. Pretentious rant over.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's very interesting because you like, if you apply this to games, it becomes a bit abstract, right?
Extremely abstract, yes.
If you like, let's take Devil Daggers, because I've been playing it recently as an example. It's like, what kind of realizations can Devil Daggers give you? Like, what is the, like, do you kind of get what I'm trying to say? It's like super hard to explain because it's super abstract. It's like in a book you have like words and you have a story, and so you can kind of how do you say this? Like the author can very clearly convey something, right? Because the book is like a singular experience, if you want to call it that, if that makes sense. Whereas a game is like very open-ended and very like it's interactive, right? And so it becomes very
it's closer to teaching, I would say. I mean, you could argue a book teaches you as well, but my point is that, like, if we take Devil Daggers as an example again, right? It teaches you about different things, like, well, first of all, how that universe works with all those enemies, right? Oh, how does this enemy work, and how should I do this? And it, but you can also talk about like more concrete skills, like, well, maybe it teaches you like patience or something, I don't know, like, or like greed management, I don't know, right? Because you need to or like, so you get like a combination of skills. Like I think that's. I mean, and that's sort of like, at least in English, actually not in Swedish, the term matches, like you play a video game, right? So it matches what kids do when they play, right? When kids play, they play to like, I mean, they can play for many reasons, but one reason is like they play to like understand the world better or whatever. Like, you get what I'm saying? Where it's like, they'll play. I don't know. Say a game they'll play, like, or like what will they do? I don't know. Have an example.
Tag.
Yeah, tag, and then they'll. I don't. What do you learn from that? I don't know.
You learn how to escape from things.
Yeah.
Scary
actually,
monsters.
No, actually, that's true. Like you're like, obviously we don't need to run from like animals and stuff.
Big animals and stuff today.
But it sort of teaches you that, right? It's like they run from each other and hide to learn, like, oh look, this was a bad hiding spot, so this won't work. I mean, it won't work against a, big scary animal anyways, because they have a nose and stuff. But what, you get my point, right?
Well, humans have noses too.
Or like maybe they like play stuff like, if we go back to the hunter-gatherers, right? They'll play like they're going on a hunt or something, right?
Yeah.
And that will actually, like, it sounds silly, but it will actually help them like break down the process of going out for hunts later in life, right? Because they have thought through some of the steps, even in a like playful environment. And you do that, you actually get the same thing from games, especially if you play games that are demanding, right? We talk about, like, if you play games, we talk about the risk management games, for example, right? With a lot of random numbers and stuff. I mean, that teaches you about, and that's also, by the way, why we hate rigged RNG so much, at least why I hate it. Because it fucks with your like the teaching process. Like, it will teach you about risk management in real life, right? It's literally the same thing. It's just in a playful environment, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And even like, if we look at something like CS, that will teach you like, well, first of all, it's like you have the teamwork layer and the coordination stuff, which is very valuable,
Yeah.
right? But then it's also like, what was I gonna say? Like I think one underrated aspect of it is simply like video games teach you how to put effort into things.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, yeah, sure. If it depends on what game you're playing, obviously.
Yeah,
right?
obviously, but like difficult video games do.
But that is also
and-
sorry. Go ahead, you first.
Well, I wasn't really sure what I was gonna say. Do you have?
Yeah, I was gonna say, well, and that's like just to clarify points that we've been making through these videos. That's also why, especially, I mean, both of us don't really like these grindy, like addictive games, because they're actually teaching you bad habits, right? It's like,
Yeah.
oh, you're playing an addicting game that is addicting for all your childhood. Oh, look, you're now addicted to, you know, whatever, real gambling. When you're an adult, because you gambled for fun when you were a kid.
Yeah.
Great, right? Great. Thank you, video games industry, right?
I mean, Counter-Strike is a perfect example.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So yeah, but I also think it's like, it's not necessarily what it teaches you, like what is applicable in real life.
For sure.
That matters, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like, yeah, sure, like CS teaches you how to be a good teammate or whatever, but it's also like, there's also like this that I was trying to get to before, like abstract thing where it's like somehow inherently valuable to like, well, I mean, I say somehow, it's kind of obvious, but it's kind of hard to explain why. Like it's valuable to challenge yourself, right?
Yeah.
And it's valuable to do valuable things.
Right. Well, one way you could see it is like, you know, that laundry list of things that you know about a game you play a lot, like for you CS, for example, that you can kind of explain, but you can't really explain it, and you're trying to explain it to people that are bad and they don't get it. That list, like those things are also part of it, right?
Yeah.
It's like very nuanced details about how this digital universe works that you can't really put words on it, right? You can you can sort of explain, like some of them you can't concretely explain, and maybe even a lot of them, depending on how good you're at explaining. But it's sort of this natural intuition you get when you do this thing a lot. That it's like you said, it's like really hard to explain to someone else in words, right? And that's sort of the key here, right? Because if you could explain it in words, then you wouldn't make a game, right? Yeah. And that's the thing, right?
Yeah, I think you know, to give like a concrete example, with CS, for example, like I'm pretty decent at CS, and so I've introduced a few people to CS. And I've like played with them and watched them play and taught them a few things about the game. And one thing, even you included slightly, Edward, and one thing that I find really interesting is like when I watch someone, like someone who's new at the game, play CS, like I can sort of predict, you know, like so like if I died at the beginning of the round and I'm spectating from the POV of the person who's new to the game, like I will like be able to say to them, yo, you should look around that corner because that's where the guy is. And I can't explain why he's there, but I know that he's there, and a lot of the times I'm right. Of course I'm wrong as well, but like, so especially when we're playing against bad people, you know, it's very easy for me to predict where they are. And the thing is that it's not like, it's not concrete in any way whatsoever. It's like, if I were to try to explain it, it would be like, okay, so 10 seconds into the round, I heard a step in banana. That means that one must have been at banana. And then we killed all the other guys. And then like, it doesn't make sense for him to go that way, so he must have gone the other way, and then maybe it's also possible that he went around that way, and it's like all of this stuff is happening like subconsciously in my brain, and I can't really explain it, because like I tried to explain it literally a second ago, but I that explanation was terrible in my opinion. So it's like, but you kind of get what I'm saying. It's like I just know when I watch like a bad player play, I know like, oh yeah, you should look there because that's where he is. Like I can't explain it more than that, and you can't get that from like, as you said, an essay that describes something, right?
I mean, you can get something similar, but not that. Not what you get like from a video game, right? And the same with a book. You'll get the different from every single medium, music as well, right? So there is similar things, which is why, again, going back to the books, right? I don't like the what's the moral of the story, because books have similar things. It's just that they're not the kinds that you can present in a video game. And it's also, by the way, why I don't really like story games mixed with gameplay games, because you're just muddying what you're trying to convey with the thing, right? Unless it's like we've talked about this before, unless it's like a, like, I don't know, like a visual novel, because that's like a book, right? That's not a game.
Yeah.
When I say I don't like story games, I mean literally, like like Uncharted and stuff, right? The mix, the literal, not the ones that are like slightly interactive stories or whatever, right? Although I don't know, there is some. I think maybe that's more of the execution. Maybe that makes some of them not that interesting, with like multiple endings and stuff. I don't know. I think those could be interesting. Yes.
Yeah.
And so going back to the topic here, right? The problem is that when you're approaching it as a problem let's bring up Jonathan Blow again, and the same story that we brought up multiple times, because it's a good way to make this analogy, right? Which is, he talked about the game. What is the game before?
Braid?
No, the game that inspired The Witness.
Oh, Arx Fatalis?
Exactly. Like, that is perfectly describing what we're saying. He played that, and he saw something that maybe the developer saw and maybe didn't. Or maybe they saw a bit of it, but he extrapolated it, right? And that, to me, is like how you should think about these things. It's like, I mean, if you want to make it very, if you want to put it in terms that are very, not exactly, but like concrete, it's like the idea of like, oh, I'm gonna make this game but better, right? It's sort of that mentality more, right? It's like, or like, not better, but like, I think, okay, I know how to say this. I think I prefer people that say things like, oh, I like this game, but wouldn't be cool, sounds so bad. Because, but you get what I'm saying, where it's like, oh, I don't know. But like let's say someone wants to make Counter-Strike, right? But they don't like a certain part of Counter-Strike, and so they make a different game.
Yeah.
That is similar to Counter-Strike. Like they're exploring a different space of that same space. But the problem when I say that is because I can come up with like a million of those we just mentioned. It's like, what if I take Counter-Strike and you go there, do the like pick 3 cards every round or something? And it's like, well, yeah, you could do that as well, I guess, and that's awful. So never mind. I don't know, but I think you get what I'm saying at least.
I think the interesting part of the Arx Fatalis example is that, like, if you look at what kind of game Arx Fatalis, it's so hard to say, Arx Fatalis is. It's like an RPG immersive sim kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And if you look at The Witness, it's like it's a pure puzzle game.
Yeah.
And so, like, if you ask the average gamer, is there anything, like, are these games related in any way?
Yeah.
They would say absolutely no. What are you talking about? These are two completely different games.
Yeah.
But yet, one like entirely inspired the other.
Yeah.
Right. And that sort of, I think that's a very good way to explain what we've been trying to say here. It's like there is something deeper in that game, Arx Fatalis, that may or may not have been like very well, what do you call it, like executed. But there is something interesting there, and like Jonathan Blow played that game and saw like, oh shit, this is worth like exploring further. And it's like, if you look at it superficially, it's like there's nothing related between those games. But like, if you actually experience it, you kind of see, oh wait, I get what Jonathan Blow is getting at here. But once again, it's hard to explain with words.
Words suck.
Yeah.
But that's the point of video games, right? It's because words can't explain video games. Mm-hmm. I mean, it sounds pretentious, but it's true. Like, if you could explain it with words, then you wouldn't play the game. And I mean, to be fair, that's what's happening with a lot of these games, right? For me, like, what if you take X and Y and mix them? Well, it's like, well, you just explained what your shitty idea is. I don't need to play that.
Yeah. And I think one thing that's really interesting is if you look at Bogo, for example. He recently released his like small game jam game. It wasn't a game jam game, but it was like a small game that he made in 2 weeks. It was called Caramel Action.
Yeah,
it's really good. You should check it out. And the thing that I find
it was half a year ago, by the way. Just saying recently, but yeah.
Oh shit, it was. Yeah, you're right. But yeah. Anyways, so like. When he described that game, like he described it as like, at least my interpretation of it is that it's like an experiment. He's looked at games like I think it was like Rolling Thunder, Elevator Action, and stuff like that. You know, games with a lot of what he calls true checkmates, and what we usually call unreactability. He wanted to make a game that like explores that like concept, or the concept of a true checkmate. Like, you've lost way before you actually lost. Like, if you died, you actually lost 3 seconds ago. It wasn't the moment that you died that you lost. And then sort of exploring that space and like trying to get that to happen as much as possible. And to me, that game is really interesting because to me, that's like a very clearly experimental game. Like he's actually trying to do something experimental and like trying to explore an unexplored space and like trying to define things that haven't been well defined before with that game.
Like a big problem though, right? I mean, it's not a problem to you and to us, right? Or like the people watching, because we understand that this is how you make interesting stuff. But the problem is that if you take that game and show it in the surface level like, I'm just gonna keep calling it marketing, even if you don't like it, the term, like in the marketing view, like the marketing design view, right? Yeah. Then this game is actually atrocious because it's just, you know, if you're gonna explain it in terms of marketing terms, it's you shoot and you move on a grid and shoot or something, right? I mean, I'm being extra. You know, not trying to make up any terms, right? Because you could probably make something interesting up, but still, like, the point is that it's not the like marketing terms that make that game interesting. It's like the actual decisions he made about how the enemies move and like the ghosts that randomly spawn sometimes, right? Yes. That follow you for the rest of the level and can go through walls. That stresses you out, right? That is super interesting. But you can't put that in a marketing email or whatever, right? It doesn't work.
And that's exactly kind of the point that I wanted to make. Because like, if you were to superficially compare that game to any other action game, it would look like a generic action game, right? Like maybe a bit more intense and like punishing or whatever. But like, there's nothing at the surface that makes that game look unique. Yeah. Like any top-down action game, if you look at the Caramel Action and then any top-down action game for 5 seconds, you'll be like, they're basically the same game. Yeah. And it's even like I've had discussions, not about this game, but about other games, where it's like, oh wow, I think this game is really cool and really interesting and super deep and so whatever. And then the person I was talking to was like, oh, but it's just like a generic action game. Well, what's so special about it? And it's like, no, you have to play it to really, like, know what I'm talking about. Like, it's super, super interesting.
I mean, there is actually, sorry to interrupt you, but there is actually, like, going back to our, like, favorite topic, skill issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
There is actually, as you get more skilled, you can actually use words
Yeah.
in ways that convey things to people that understand the concepts better, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, like you said, you said with CS, like obviously someone like, even though I'm not as good as you at CS, I still understand the stuff you're talking about CS more than someone that doesn't play CS at all, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. So there is like a what do you call it? Like a continuum of like terminology, I guess, that you can use, maybe not to market it, but to like you could explain something about a game to me, and I would be interested, right? But maybe
Yeah.
like you said, oh, it's an action game where this and this is a thing, right? And it's like, huh, that's kind of interesting, right? Whereas maybe someone that doesn't play as many games won't see that, right? I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I actually have like an interesting example
ahead.
from Counter-Strike. So it's those of you who don't play Counter-Strike, I'm not gonna have any clue what I'm talking about. But for those that do, there's a grenade on not Anubis, Ancient, the map Ancient. If you go to the B site, if you're a counter-terrorist and you want to get to cave fast, there is a grenade that you can do that you essentially throw it so that it times with the terrorist that is also going to cave. And first of all, it does damage on the terrorist, as grenades often do. But then there's also the fact that being hit by a grenade slows you down, right? And so what I find really interesting about this particular like grenade throw on Ancient, this is like a super particular specific scenario that like rarely ever actually happens in like if you actually play CS, right? It's like that like very slight slowdown that you get from the grenade is actually impactful for the counter-terrorist, because that means that he will get to cave like a bit before you. Like you can get to cave before depending on the spawn, right? But like you will get there even earlier than the terrorist, right? Which is a huge advantage. And like I was explaining this to someone who doesn't play CS. And he has basically like dismissed it. It was like, oh yeah, but then you're like playing at such a high level that like I don't care anymore. And it's like,
Yep.
I feel like when you talk to a lot of casual gamers, this is kind of the sentiment that you will get when you talk about these things, because it's like I'm explaining like, oh yeah, if I throw a grenade here, I'm gonna slow him down by 0.5 seconds, which means that I will get there 0.5 seconds before him, which is an advantage because that means I can line up the headshot more easily and so on and so on. And it's like, that is like what's the correct word to use here? I feel like a lot of casual gamers hear that and they're like, I don't care, basically.
Yeah.
Right?
But that might be fine because, like, maybe I mean, obviously everyone doesn't have to be interested in Counter-Strike, right?
Yeah, but more that like they don't see why it's interesting.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. But if you're like, I like defending casual sometimes, so I'm gonna do it now,
Yeah,
right?
go ahead.
And I think that is fine, right? That some people are not interested in those things. I think the problem is that the people that are claiming themselves hardcore or whatever is not right.
Yes, that's sort of my point, because this person was claiming that they were hardcore, but they're casual in my mind. So sorry, okay. I was a bit unclear there. So they were claiming that they were like a hardcore gamer, and I was talking about that. So yeah, and that's sort of my point. So thank you for clarifying. It's like people who say that they are interested in games are not interested in these kinds of things. And going back to like the original, cheesecake with ketchup thing on, that person was super into discussing like, oh yeah, there's this new game with this really clever mechanic, and it's like whatever, you know.
Yes. But again, if you're approaching design from the marketing perspective, then it makes sense, because then you can say that to someone, right? You can say, oh look, it's a third-person shooter, but there's a kids puzzle next to it, right? And then people are like, oh, that's interesting, a kids puzzle. I love kids puzzles, right? And am I being too mean?
No.
Yeah, but you like, it totally makes sense to me, right? Why it is that way, because like, not to be like complaining or whatever, like, but it's very similar to like other things as well, right? Basically everything is going that route.
Yeah.
Like we talked about smart fridges and stuff, it's the same, like like it's not flashy to say like, oh look, this is a fridge, it works, and it's like it's putting out this much code for this amount of money and it will never break. Like, that's not interesting, even though that's actually exactly what you want.
Yeah.
It's cooler to say it's the center of your home or whatever.
Yeah, and you can play Skyrim on it. But I feel like I guess that's the point of today's episode. That's what I wanted to talk about. And like to so now I know how to bring this together. So like my point is that these things that we've just discussed, like this CS example and whatever that we brought up, these are signs of a game that's actually deep and interesting.
Yeah.
But designers are actually not interested in that. They're interested in the novelty of ketchup on cheesecake. And I feel like
they don't want to eat it though. I guess
that's true.
The
that's
problem
true.
as well. They want to buy it, but they don't want to eat it.
Well, they
want to buy it, they want to taste it, they want to talk about it.
And then they throw it away.
They want to talk about it as well. That's very important. But then they throw it away.
Yeah.
Yes.
But tying it back to the like chef/baker thing, it's like a lot of times, and of course there are exceptions as we said, but it feels like a lot of times when a chef sets out to make a dish very well, they try to find flavor and texture combinations that complement each other, right? I'm trying to come up with an example and I can't. It's like, well, let's take, the latest trend, I say, but it's like 10 years old, the smash burger or whatever. Some smart guy was like, oh yeah, if we take the hamburger, but then we have like a super hot frying pan and then we smash the meat into it, it gets like a super nice crust. Like that's like actual cooking innovation or whatever you want to call it. And it's not flashy at all. Or, well, it is a bit flashy, right? Because the act of smashing a burger is a bit flashy. But, like, it's not novelty. It's like, okay, I'm doing something to improve the flavor and texture of the burger.
I would actually argue that is doing... So, that is sort of the space in between, I think. So you have the space of, like, you put the ketchup on the cheesecake. And then you have the Italian restaurant, which is like, we talked about like Bogog or Jonathan Blow, right? But then the smash burger, that's sort of the like actual popular innovative games, right? If that makes sense. Like it's
like do you mean that it's actually innovative?
Like it's doing it's on the fence, I guess is what I'm saying. Like it's doing some sort of marketing thing, like. It's doing something innovative, but it also happens to line up with marketing, if that makes sense.
Okay, yeah.
So like you actually get a marketing boost from it because you can actually say something, like you can make a novel explanation of it. Like you said, oh, it's cool because you smash it in the pan or something, right? And then it's like, oh, cool, I'm gonna go try that, right? You gave them something to, like a picture of it in their head, right? But you can't really do that about the Italian restaurant because it's like, oh, they're making pasta. right?
Yeah.
Look,
Yeah.
ooh, cool. They're like, yeah, I can make pasta at home, right, or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, I can make a burger as well, I guess. But you get what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's sort of where you get the like actual, the like mainstream big.
Like when a new trend is set, you mean?
Yeah, exactly. Like when
Yeah.
when what's popular just changed. Like I don't like battle royale games, for example,
Yeah.
right? But they are a perfect example of this, where it's like it's a first-person shooter, and they've added elements in this marketing way, but it sort of kind of works, right?
Yeah.
But you can talk about it in a way that's very like flashy and markety, so you
Yeah.
get that benefit out of it.
Yeah.
But I guess my point is also that that's not gonna, in general, that's not gonna create the best, most interesting games, right?
No,
Because
yeah,
they are a bit on the marketing side as well, I guess, right? And I mean, you could argue maybe this is the goal of the people doing the thing you said with the ketchup and cheesecake, but they're failing, right?
Yeah, probably.
But
I think the, or sorry, do you want to say something?
no, I was just gonna say that their approach is probably not
Yeah.
optimal, right? I don't think these guys that made these things thought about it in that way, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think one thing about cooking that I wanna like.
We are a cooking podcast now.
Yeah. No, but it's like, so I think one thing about game design that, like, a lot of game designers think that you as a designer can do anything you want. And that is technically true. Well, depending on certain limitations or whatever. But like, if you, for example, if you take if we take the ketchup and cheesecake example, right? If you take a cheesecake and you put ketchup on it, it's going to taste bad, right?
Depending on how you stretch the definition, like you said.
Yes, but if you take like a standard generic cheesecake and standard generic ketchup and put them
you
together,
will
it's
get a
gonna
comment
taste
today
terrible.
about like someone like talking about
this is actually a really
eat
good
this every
combination.
day.
Yeah. No, but like what I'm trying to get at is that the chef doesn't decide what flavors work together. He's trying to find them, right? If that makes sense. So the chef doesn't say ketchup and cheesecake go well together. He tries ketchup and cheesecake and he says, this is disgusting, I've got to try something else.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is true for game design as well. This is true for most things, I would say. But I feel like game designers don't realize this. It's like, yeah, you can combine any mechanics you want, or you can make any mechanic you want, but that doesn't mean it's going to work. And I feel like a lot of designers don't understand that. They think that if they can come up with a mechanic, they can make it work, right?
Well, it's an approach issue, I would say. Because
what do you mean?
Well, you said, I mean, again, there are designers that do it well, and there are chefs that do it well, and there are chefs that don't do it well, right? But the approach is, I have A, I have B, and then it's like a math problem, right? How do I put A and B together, right? So it's not that it's not that there aren't combinations that work if you do it that way. You can actually get combinations that work accidentally in that way, right?
Yeah.
Because like you try to put this together and you actually force it together in some way, and it actually ends up being kind of nice for some reason. But the problem is that the problem is the approach of take A, take B, and force A and B together somehow, right? Like approaching it from I want to have this and this.
Well, it's not necessarily just combining things, because it's also like I've had like discussions where it's like I want to make a game about this, and it's like a real life concept or whatever, and it's not necessarily a combination. It's just like I want to make a game about this, and it's like, okay, but that sounds super boring. And like how do you plan to implement that? And it's like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna make this, and it's like, okay, but
yeah, and that's sort of my point, that it's the approach of I don't know if you want to call it like top down or whatever, because like top down is fine.
I guess it is.
But it's my point is you put forth what you want first and try to solve for it later, right? Whereas if you
not necessarily even try to solve for it is my point.
They're definitely trying. They're just failing.
Well, yeah, they're trying, but they're failing. Yeah, that's true.
And that's and so like I think the best way to view what you're saying, at least for me, right, is that the way they judge, like the marketing design style, right, is judged is how good are you at taking what you want and putting it together to make something that is palatable.
Yeah.
But my point is that it's actually the approach that is the issue, not the result, because you can end up with combinatorial results. It's just that you need to approach it from some other angle. I don't know. It's very abstract, but like
I feel like okay, so I think you kind of like explained what I was trying to say, but I'll try once more to like make it extra clear. So I think the problem is that like game designers, they have an idea and then they say, okay, how do I turn this idea into a game? And they don't like...
Idea is maybe a bit abstract.
Yeah. But they're like... Because I feel like, you know, what a lot of good designers do when they design game is that they have a concept, right? So like Jonathan Blow had the Arx Fatalis magic system thing, and Boghog had the like elevator action rolling thunder thing when he made the
what you're saying is
action and so on.
they have inspirations.
No, what I'm saying is that they had an idea when they made that game, right?
Right, but they were inspired by like actual games and not by...
Yeah, that's true, but that's not my main point. What I'm saying is that they like I think Jonathan Blow and The Witness is a better example because it's more clear that they are different, right? So like Jonathan Blow played Arx Fatalis and was like, oh yeah, this is really interesting, I'm gonna make a game about this.
Part of the game, right?
Yeah, true. And then what that game ends up being doesn't really matter. What matters is that you have this aspect from Arx Fatalis that was so interesting in the new game, right? Whereas I think a lot of designers, they have an idea. It's like whatever. I can't come up with anything. But they have an idea, and then they... I guess the problem is that it's just superficial, maybe. Like maybe this isn't as deep as I'm thinking.
I feel like you're saying what I just said, where like the approach is the issue, where it's like you're supposed to like, you can end up with the flavor of ketchup and cheese cake. I mean, that's not gonna taste good, right? But if you end up with a taste, like what am I trying to say? I am trying to say that if you, let's say you're really, really interested in cheesecakes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you find it really interesting and you want to, like, I don't know, like you said, you experiment with the ingredients, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's like, you can end up like you mentioned earlier, you put like what was the fruit you put? Mango, right? Right? That's not this, like that's fairly different, right? But it's probably from trying a bunch of stuff, right? But this idea of putting ketchup on it, right? That doesn't, like, it comes from, I feel like, I could be wrong, but I feel like it comes from looking at it from a different perspective. It's not, I like cheesecake, I want to make a tasty cheesecake. It's like, I have cheesecake, I have ketchup, I want them together because that's gonna sell well.
Yeah. I think you hit the nail on the head, as they say. It's like they're not actually trying to make it work. They're trying to make it marketable.
Yeah.
I guess.
I mean, I guess they want it to work, but not in the sense that they're really interested in the parts. Like you mentioned earlier with free to play, not free to play, oh boy, free for all and competitive, right?
Yeah.
They don't work together, right?
Yeah.
Obviously they don't work, and like the only reason you would want those two to work together is if you want to market it, right? You want to sell it to people that are interested in free for alls and in competitive games to get a broader audience. That's the only reason you would combine those two.
Yeah, but I also feel like there's like among designers there's like an intellectual circle jerk thing going on as well, where it's like I was the clever designer that came up with a solution to the free for all and skill based problem, you know. Sort of.
Yeah, for sure. But that's like novelty.
Which like it ties in a bit to the marketing, but it's like that sort of culture is like very, very detrimental in my opinion. Like I think I said something similar recently, which is that like it seems like a lot of game designers are trying to be clever rather than smart, if that makes sense.
But I don't think that's exclusive to games at all. I think that's
no,
all things. Like we mentioned music, right? You see this weird music, right, as well. I mean, again, maybe a lot of music is pop actually as well, right? Which is super generic, but whatever. But even in the like, okay, music is actually a perfect example because of my job, I interact with music people a lot, right? Music, like people that care about music, they'll do like, if you talk, like they'll talk about their inspirations and stuff, right? They'll be like, oh, I really like this band or something, and like that's my inspiration or whatever, or something, right? You're probably more familiar with that aspect of it. But what you'll see from less good musicians is they are very, very, very focused on tools. Extremely focused. It's like
focus on what?
Tools or whatever. Yeah.
Okay.
So like it's not about like interesting like chord progressions and stuff, right? Because that's solved. You just use the pop chords. What is interesting is like the filter you put on it, where it's like, oh, it sounds like it's underwater. That's quirky or something, right?
Yeah, that's okay. Actually, that's really good that you said that, because I've been thinking about this as well. It's like, because if you take like a really niche kind of music, let's take some weird example. It's like death metal. Okay? I don't listen to death metal, but whatever.
I love death metal.
It's like I mean, maybe it's good. As I said, I haven't listened to it. I might like it.
I think it's like an acquired taste, probably. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. But anyways, so I feel like even though I don't listen to death metal, I can sort of still see this in a way where it's like there are a lot of death metal bands. Well, there are actual death metal bands, okay? But then there are a lot of death metal bands that are pop bands with a death metal filter.
Right.
If that makes sense. Right? And that goes for like any genre. It's like jazz or whatever, you know? It's like there are... Like, I feel like the popular... like, I think rock versus pop music... Or versus, they're not fighting, but like... like, there's a lot of like pop rock, right? But like... If you compare actual rock music to like popular rock music, like actual rock music is structurally different in a way. Yeah. Like rock is still fairly similar to pop music, right? They're still fairly related music genres. But like there are a lot of like very popular rock songs that are very, very clearly like, okay, yeah, this is a pop song with a guitar in it, right? Or like a guitar with a like cool rock filter on it.
Yeah. Just to clarify one thing about my point, right? I'm not saying you can't make a good or interesting pop song, right? I think you can definitely make a good pop song if you're being like smart about, like, because there's obviously chords and stuff you need to use or whatever. Not you need, but you get what I mean. It needs to sound in a certain way, so you're limited in a way. But if you're good at making pop songs, you can make a good pop song. My problem is that what people are trying to do. And it might just be a skill issue, I don't know. But like, they are not trying to just make a good pop song. They're trying to figure out how to stand out, right?
Yeah.
And then on top of that, they're not trying to make a good pop song. Does that make sense? Like they'll make a generic pop song that is not interesting at all.
Yeah.
And then argue that they need, like, argue is not right. Like they'll do things, like I said, they'll buy all these, like, there's like audio plugins and stuff, right? Not off topic from what we're talking about on our podcast, right? But it's like you can buy like virtual instruments and stuff, right? And there's like a whole industry of like people selling those, right? Because people want the new sound, right, or whatever. It's like, oh my god, this like guitar, like MIDI guitar sound is perfect for my new track or whatever. And it's like, look, if it does not matter, right? You can use one of those like shitty 8-bit MIDI thingies, right? And make a good pop song if you're good at making pop songs. That's the point, right? Yes, the sound does matter. It gives it flavor, right? But it's not like the song is still the song, right? You need to make the good song, and the thing is, a good song is gonna sound good with bad like MIDI instruments, right? It doesn't matter if they're bad.
Yeah.
So like, it's sort of this tool thing, and to go back to video games, so we stop talking, like everyone's fallen asleep now because we're talking about like music tools and stuff, right? I feel like it's the same there, where it's like these ideas, like the focus should just be like you said. I mean, not exactly like, obviously they have goals still, like the good designers, they still have goals, but they're just, I'm gonna make an action game today, right? And they make an action game. And because they have a lot of experience, they end up making decisions that are interesting, right? And unique. And it doesn't matter if it's quirky or unique, because it's just gonna be interesting because this person has a lot of experience, so their ideas are inherently interesting because they're experienced, right? Then they might not be interesting to you for reasons, right? But they are interesting ideas because, like, and I mean, this is obvious. Like if you think about it, this is super obvious. Like if you talk to someone about a subject, like if we talk about a subject, say a subject, like a subject that's fun to talk about.
Sports.
That's not fun to talk about.
I don't know what you mean.
Yeah, sports.
Video games is fun to talk about. Video games.
No, sports is like. Yeah. My point is that. What am I trying to say? Like, my point is that someone that has a lot of experience with something is more interesting to talk to about said thing. Obviously, right? If you talk to someone about cars, like, if you, like, okay, now we're buying cars. Fuck it. We're buying cars. Okay.
We're doing lots of stuff today.
I go to you. You're not a car salesman. You're my friend and you love cars. You know everything about cars.
I'm a mechanic.
Yeah. You love cars. You have like all the car, I don't know what you have with this. You have a bunch of like car models like in your home or something. You love cars. And you know everything about everything, right? And I go to you on like or like I want to buy a car. Let's say I want to buy a car, and then it's like, oh, I can go to my friend that doesn't know anything about cars, or I can go to you. Like, obviously I'm gonna go to you because, or maybe not even buy a car, just talk about cars, right? Obviously you're gonna be way more interesting to talk to. I mean, obviously you could theoretically be an asshole and be boring to talk to, I guess, right? That's true, but in general, someone that knows more about a thing is just more interesting to talk. Like if you're, I guess this is, oh boy, now I'm going very many directions, but there is actually a fundamental difference here, because like when you talk to someone, you could actually, like the interaction of talking to someone matters as well, right? So what I mean is, if you're actually interested in cars, you want to talk to the guy that knows a lot about cars, right? Yes. But if you just like, because you might just want to talk about cars, but you know, you'd rather talk to someone that is nicer, right?
Like,
but if
what's your favorite car? And it's like,
I guess that also like is an interesting analogy to what we are talking about with video games, and that's probably happening with video games as well, right?
Yeah.
But my point is that the subject, like having deeper knowledge of the subjects makes you more interesting to talk to in relation to that subject.
Yes.
And that I think that applies for art as well, right? So if you read a lot of books, or if you play a lot of games, or if you listen to a lot of music, or play a lot of music, right? Or both, then you're gonna be better at creating those things as well. Obviously, you need experience to create them as well, because like there's an execution element. Like maybe you've read all the books in the universe, but you don't, like, you're bad at spelling or something, I don't know, right?
Yeah.
Then that's gonna affect the book's quality, right? Because your ideas are gonna be good, but no one is gonna understand you because you're actually accidentally talking about, like, I was trying to think of a word that spelled it from my can't come over there. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Like, I think music is an easier example, right? Because it's like, yeah, you can have really good musical ideas, but if you don't know how to play any instruments or how to,
you can
like,
actually kind of get around that. Yeah, with software you can kind of get around that these days.
Yeah, but it's like you still need to know how to use the software, right?
Yeah, but then the skill,
so, like,
I guess the skill, the execution element of playing the instrument has actually, like, the barrier to entry for creating good tracks is actually lower these days, right? Because music software, like, you, for example, you don't, if you want to make a really fast song, you don't need to be able to play a really fast song.
Yeah, and also you don't need to have like 10 instruments.
Yeah, exactly.
You can just download them.
Yeah. So they're like,
so it's quite a lot cheaper.
Yeah. But it's the same with games, right? It's the exact same thing with games, because there's like game engines and stuff, right?
Yep.
And so, like, you can you can be way less like tech savvy, I guess, like programming and stuff, and still be a good designer these days compared to like 10-15 years ago, which is great, by the way. That's a good thing, even though the big publishers are abusing that and like making sure no one knows how to program and everything is slow. But that's not the, like, it's good.
That's not the topic for today.
No, but like, I think it's still worth it, right?
Yeah, no, I agree.
I don't know if I made any point about what I just said, but I think you get what I was saying anyway, so who cares?
Yeah, I think you made a lot of points. So now I don't remember all of them.
Yeah, I'm bad at being
but
concise.
yeah, I mean, we've discussed very abstract things today, I think.
Class.
But yeah, I think there was one thing I wanted to talk about. If you will allow me to go back to the GDC talk I was talking about in the beginning. Just more concrete, because we've been so abstract now. And that is that I find it very interesting how, like, he explains the solutions to these problems. Because the solution always ends up being that you sacrifice a part of what you want to combine, which makes sense.
Yeah, but you do that in good design.
Because that's but that is true. But like, it's
what you're sacrificing. I mean, obviously it is part of that, because like, if you have a competitive game, like, you're obviously, like, on a surface level, you're saying you're combining free to play. Why do I want to talk about free to play games so much? Free for all games and competitive games.
Yeah.
Like, you are, if you want to argue that it's still competitive, it's like extremely limited in what you could argue, right? Yeah. So you've lost the competitiveness, right, by combining them.
I think that's sort of my point. It's like because he said, like, oh yeah, here's an example of a cursed problem, and here's an example of a game that solved that problem. And like, every example of a game that solved that problem that he brought up was like a terrible game. Like, actually garbage game. And I feel like if we look at the like free for all and versus competitive thing, right?
Yeah.
I feel like, you know, if you have these two values that are like competing with each other, trying to combine them is always going to make a worse game. And I guess sort of the point I wanted to make is that I love Among Us in this context.
It's your favorite
Because
game?
I think what I like so much about Among Us in this context is that it's like, if you want that like free for all politics, you know, everybody ganging up on each other thing, then Among Us is the perfect game, right?
Yeah.
That's sort of my point. And you won't, like, obviously there might be games similar to Among Us that do it better. I don't know. I don't play those kinds of games that much. But like, if you want that experience, if you want the free-for-all politics, everybody ganging up on each other experience, you want to play Among Us, because that's where you'll have the best experience, right?
Yeah.
Because that's a game completely dedicated to that. Whereas if you want a super competitive, skill-based game, you're better off playing like a fighting game or Counter-Strike or StarCraft or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And that's sort of my point. It's like, if you end up trying to make a game that's both competitive and free-for-all, you're never going to end up with a game you're always going to end up with a game that's less than the sum of its parts, right? That's sort of my point.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
But,
so
but
you're
I guess
always
my point
going
is
to.
that you. Oh, I see what you're saying. Less of the poor. Yeah, I mean, yeah. But it also depends on, like, because depending on the combination, they might introduce things again, assuming it's done well, right? You might end up
if it's a good
introducing
combination. Yeah.
or like a decent combination is, I guess, my point, right?
Yeah.
You can end up
I'm
adding
talking-
things that add to it, even though
Yeah.
you lost things from the original too,
Yeah.
right? Like
But I'm thinking
MOBAs,
more of
for
like,
example. MOBAs is a perfect
yeah.
example, because it's like you lose a lot of what makes an RTS interesting in a MOBA, right? Extreme amounts. But you actually have a lot of other things that are interesting in a MOBA.
Yeah.
Now, are they designed in this way? Probably not, right? But you could see, like, you could imagine a world where someone thought, oh, wouldn't, like, RTSs are so stressful, what if you were on a team, and what if you didn't need to micro or something? But again, I guess when I say that, I'm realizing no one would ever like get to Dota from that, right? That's the problem. They would get to a way worse game.
Yeah, they would get to modern RTSs.
Yeah. but I think an issue is you can view a MOBA as that's solved, right? So broken record again here, but like, I think it's the approach, right? Because it's this phenomenon with the human brain, right, where it loves to put meaning to things in the past, right? So it's like, oh, look, the designer of Dota, he realized that if you remove the micro and add a bunch of players, it, like, no, that's not what he did. He like made a mod for Dota and like, you know, right?
Yeah, he was probably like, oh yeah, these heroes are pretty cool. What if you only played with them?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Like,
it was actually a part of the game,
developed.
right? So it's
Yeah. It's like actually like not related to the subject at all. It's actually very interesting how like little Dota actually did.
Yeah.
Like because I played Warcraft 3 for the first time fairly recently, like a year ago or so, and it's like, oh yeah, like all of the like foundations for Dota are here. Like the only thing they removed was like the building, and that's it. It's actually very interesting. But yeah, what were we gonna say?
No, that was what I was gonna say. Like, they made that game, and he was like, "Oh, what if you just shave that off, right?" And then it ended up having these implications, like, "Oh, you're on a team, so you don't have to be you get these things on top." But I don't think it was approached that way, and I don't think that's a good way to look at game design, I guess. That's my only point.
Mm-hmm.
Probably completely incomprehensible episode, but who cares? It was fun.
We have so smart viewers, it's fine.
That is true. But the non-viewers, you know.
Yeah. So, I guess that's it from us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for watching, everyone. Don't forget to leave a like and comment and all that. As I said, if you watched the video, you're automatically smart, so don't forget to subscribe so that you become smarter.
You can also join the Discord if you want to. And
join the Discord.
It's not super active, but I mean, we're gonna try to post.
It will be if you join.
Yeah, it will be if you join.
Trust me.
Yeah.
If everyone joined, it would be active.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, it doesn't have to. Everyone can just be there and not say anything.
Yeah.
It could be, no one saying anything anyways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We're just like basking in each other's aura or whatever. Yeah. But yeah, thanks for watching, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye, everyone.